Report. It's a YouTube channel which is just doing incredible. He's got like he just did this show with Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson. Have you seen any of Jordan Peterson's stuff? He's
I have not.
Canadian.
I've never even met Ben. I mean,
I know Ben Shapiro.
I know who he is.
I know him personally, but
you don't know. Jordan Peterson is just popping up now on. He's doing the podcast circuit. He popped up on Corolla. He popped up on Rogan. He did Dave Rubin's YouTube show. And I mean, the thing has done like I think a couple million views already. But it was just such a great conversation about not only language but not being able to actually have ideas, meaning that you can't. People who disagree with each other do not exchange ideas anymore. They just look to vilify
and blame.
Because that's what happened with this guy Jordan Peterson. Like his quotes,
and he's Canadian too. And in Canada, and the language up there is very restricted.
How you doing?
Dave, this is Brad. Hot dog. Good to see you, buddy.
His quotes keep getting taken out of context,
of course
and he's getting spun into being like, we're talking about Jordan Peterson, and he's getting spun into being like transphobic and this and misogynistic, and if you sit down and actually talk to the guy and give it some time, like he's got educated responses to what his ideas are, and whether you agree with them or not, he's not being evil. He's actually got education and research and all this stuff.
But people don't give a fuck. Like you hear people say things, I don't care about the context. It's like, well, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, yes, pretty much everyone is an idiot these days. That just goes without saying. And I was going to say that no matter what conversation I walked into.
Right.
That was going to be my opening today. Peterson's probably the smartest guy that I've ever interviewed. And he's been doing this stuff for 30, 40 years already. Controversial, yeah, but he is incredibly well educated on the stuff that he's talking about.
Yeah.
And this idea about that he doesn't like trans people or gay people, it has nothing to do with that. He didn't want the government to pass a law to say you would be in trouble if you use the wrong pronouns. Right. I've been with him. He's been to my house. I live there with my husband, the dude I married. That's pretty gay.
And he wasn't sitting there going like, ew, you guys are so gross. This is so yucky. I hate this.
If he did it privately in another room.
Was he wearing those yellow kitchen gloves the whole time?
Which you respect. It's like, wow, he had a bottle of Purell everywhere he went.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you're clean. That's great, you know? Yeah, the guy, but this is what they do. The last 2 weeks, I'm sure this is exactly what you're talking about now, but the amount of hit jobs that have been written on him.
Yeah.
These pieces from Vice and Guardian and all these other garbage. These things they're not journalists, they're activists, and they're promoting garbage nonsense.
Well, and it's kind of amazing because if you watch him either on Rubin Report, if you hear what he did on Corolla's podcast or Rogan's podcast, like it's this whole other guy that's not being described. There was this, I think what really started the conversation about him recently was that news clip that he was on the news and this woman was trying to have a debate with him, but all of the facts that she was using were those snippet facts where everything's out of context and nothing she's saying is actually researched or accurate.
Headline.
It's all headlines.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you said this. And he goes, no, what I said was, and there were multiple moments where there would just be dead silence. And he'd go, I got you on that one, huh?
Yeah. Well, the beauty of it is...
Was he from Toronto? Sorry.
Yeah, he's from Toronto.
I remember reading about this guy, and I don't remember...
You should watch the.
I might have bought into a headline. I don't remember if I liked him or not, but or he said something that he got in trouble for and he shouldn't have. I forget. What did he say? And he's a professor at university.
Yeah, it was the trans pronoun thing was what put him on the map because they were going to pass this bill or this directive or something that if you actually use the wrong pronouns, which you might accidentally,
people do it all the time.
Someone in this room might be trans and I don't know it. You might accidentally use the wrong pronoun.
That's right,
Sam.
I was born a tall black woman. And I decided, nah, white midget. That's better for comedy.
That's a screwy identity politics thing right there.
Sure, very much so.
But yeah, that's what put him on the map. But I'll tell him about you guys. He probably knows about you already, but you should get him in here. I mean, the guy, I'm telling you, 40 years, his life led up to this. This isn't some guy that just a year ago started saying some shit to get people into him. His whole life led up to this. And that moment on UK Channel 4 with Kathy Newman, she basically says to him, she goes, what gives your free speech? Why does that supersede a trans person's right to be offended? And he just sits there and calmly, legs crossed, just calmly looks at her and smiles. And he's like, well, you have no problem offending me. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the truth. You're allowed to be offended.
Of course you are.
For as long as we have freedom left, which may not be that long.
Isn't it amazing that we've gotten to the point where a journalist is actually arguing Well, the freedom to be offended and to silence you is just as, if not more valuable than freedom of speech.
But this is why journalists suck.
Yes, they're not journalists.
She would never argue as to why she shouldn't be able to cover something that's offensive.
Absolutely.
She would never go, well, you know, technically covering this is an offensive subject, so I better stay away from it. It's always about other people and what they're saying.
Well, because there's good and bad, right? There's like, well, this is evil. We're saying whatever trans people want to do is yes. We don't need to look into it. We don't need to research it. Yes, because that's good. And if you're against it, then you're a bad guy. And that's it. It's heroes and villains.
I mean, obviously you're both right, but the real beauty of this too is it's such a great example of the implosion of the media right now. The mainstream media they have been so fat and lazy on their nonsense for so long that now these really bright people who have been ready to do this are popping up out of nowhere, and they don't know how to react to them. So Kathy Newman, the woman that did the interview, she basically would have to be either the worst journalist ever or just a complete idiot to sit down with this guy who it's like sitting down with a ninja and having never tried karate. You know what I mean? Like, and so they're so dumb that they can't even stop themselves. So she thinks that offense somehow supersedes free speech.
And there's also, I think that what makes it now is that because like we have like a show like this or like what you do or podcasts do where you can get these guys and we're not talking to them for 30 seconds. We're talking to them
just
for 2 hours. And like really getting into what they think. And all of a sudden, like you've got this narrative that you were hit with by every news outlet. And then you actually sit down and spend 2 hours listening or watching a conversation and hearing viewpoints. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
this is totally different.
And it's not just the clickbait article where they had that headline of like, so-and-so said this and hates, where they make the decision for you in the headline. Now you can actually get into it.
But this thing they do, though, when you get them on something like, well, you have the right to offend me, the fucking atomic bomb is, well, you're not a marginalized person.
I'm
so
sorry,
it's
I
different.
haven't suffered.
But that's always that's their go-to thing is you're not marginalized. So,
but you know what? All of these tactics, they're running out of steam because they've done them so many times. So you're 100% right. So first it's that, right? You're not, she's a woman, so now she's the victim. But then if you watched what happened right after, so then the clip gets released, Jordan tweets it out, a zillion people tweet it out, starts catching fire. Then Kathy Newman and the network, all the people at the network start tweeting all the hate that she's getting. You see, she's being bombarded by alt-right hate. She's the victim here.
He's bullying her.
So now he's bullying her, even though he tweeted out to his people, don't attack her, it's about ideas and all that.
Because now he's an alt-right leader, right?
And all he did,
he's an alt-right leader.
And all he did was release a clip.
Which was technically even her clip. It wasn't.
It was hers.
When people bash you online and then you respond and they're like, you're sicking all your listeners on me. Don't have a public discussion if you don't want public blowback.
Well, exactly. But that's the funny thing. So what they do is, so the night it comes out, she first sees a few responses. One of her colleagues takes a picture of her, like in the car with her phone, laughing. She has a big smile on her face, laughing about all the hate she's getting.
Oh boy!
But by the next day, when they realize they could spin it into now she's the victim, now they have to release a press release and we're going to talk to security. And it's like,
yeah, you do that.
And you can't ever say either, like you're a journalist, right? Could you not check your Twitter mentions for a while and just go back to researching things?
Or maybe your idea just sucked and people don't like your idea. Maybe that's it.
Right.
Which is allowed to happen.
You don't need to check every Twitter mention. It's not real life.
Trust me, sometimes it's best to lay off. We all go through those times where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to look any at mentions that aren't verified.
I was just going to say, you know how many times we could probably, I know how many times I can, and I'm sure yours is similar. I can open up my Twitter and just see random, anonymous, pink foxes telling me to go fuck myself.
Every time I open it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It now seems like when you have these arguments, it seems like no one strives to be right. They strive to be a victim.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to be like, well, I think this way because, like, I could end every argument with, well, as a little person, as a dwarf, I've been
you should start doing that.
That's how you should start out in every discussion. just for clarity purposes.
Right. Fuck my wife. I'm like, well, as a dwarf, I had fun.
As a little person, thank you guys for having me on the show today.
Exactly. Brad, as a little person.
Like, everyone's striving to be that thing where now everyone has to feel sorry for you, so now you have an excuse to be wrong, but then they can't guess that. They can't second guess your opinion, because as a marginalized person, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, now you can say whatever you want.
Yeah,
right.
I think what a sad, pathetic way of viewing the world that is. I mean, they view victimhood as virtue. That's what they think. If you are a victim somehow, or if you are oppressed, but it's not really oppressed. If you're perceived oppressed by your immutable characteristics, the stuff that Martin Luther King was trying to get past, they view that as virtue, and that is the worst. No one gives you anything in this life. We all came from different places. You get your shit and go.
But a lot of times,
yes, some people get more and some people work harder and everything else, but it's on you to fix it.
It's easy. Like it's easy to jump there, to be like, oh yeah, I'm victimized, and it gives you like built-in sympathy and a built-in excuse for
it's so pathetic
not doing things.
Sam, you know how easy it was for us all these years, Jim? Remember all those easy comedy years? Yeah, it was
right.
Just,
I mean, we're white males.
Yeah.
Of course it was easy.
As a little person, I struggled very hard with...
Yeah, well, you had half the struggle.
Yeah.
And technically, it was easier for Jim and me even than you.
I was closeted a lot of those years.
But easier for Jim, though, because your hair really fucked you up.
That's true. No, yeah. My hair was not
it was not the hair
As
of a
a
white man.
guy with this hair.
Everyone has something that they can lean their hat on. Like, hell, you can be a rich white male, straight Protestant, and still find something. You can be like, well, we had everything, so I never knew what it was like to struggle, and that was my struggle.
But
like,
also,
you can reverse it all.
It's also just stupid. Like, guess what? There are people who are born into money that are actually good people and do good things on this world, and we shouldn't hate them for that.
No,
I'm going to go out on the assumption that you guys one day, if you have kids, that you might want to give them something and then teach them good things so they can go out into the world and do good things. We shouldn't be like, oh shit, you see those successful radio guys, comedy guys, you see what they did? They used their money to send their kids to school. Like,
well, he might. I'm not going to have any children, but he might. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's just everything is backwards. And once you really see it, and this is why I think actually our side is starting to win, because these people have just become hysterical.
Our side? You mean the alt-right?
I mean the alt-right white supremacists.
You mean the Nazis? The gay Nazis.
Race realists. The gay Nazis.
Now here's the best part is as I've been talking to you and listening to hear you talk, I don't know what your side is. And
it's the good side.
And I because then once you instantly have assumptions about you. So like, okay, well, he thinks this way, so he... I don't know what your side is.
Become hysterical.
Our side? You mean the alt-right?
I mean the alt-right white supremacists.
You mean the Nazis? The gay Nazis.
Race realists. The gay Nazis.
Now here's the best part is as I've been talking to you and listening to hear you talk, I don't know what your side is. And
it's the good side.
And I almost don't want to know. Because then once you say what your side is, I'm gonna instantly have assumptions about you. So like, okay, well, he thinks this way, so he must hate these people or hate this thing. Now I'm just having a conversation with you.
I only hate individual people. That's my side. I hate individual people. You strike me as a good guy, we're good to go.
Yeah.
But I hate the idea. I hate collectivism. I mean, that's what I hate. Sure. That if you look at a black person and you go, all right, well, I'm going to judge him because I judge black people this way. That's
so wrong. You're saying that's wrong.
That is wrong. I know it takes a while.
We can agree to disagree.
Tomato, whatever.
I think your side is like the side that most people should have, which is
but
I'm on the side of logic.
Yeah.
And whatever logic is to me, that's what it is. And we can have a conversation. Like if we disagree on something, we can both think that we're on the side of logic and actually discuss it. As opposed to being like, well, no, here's the party line, here's the rules that I follow, and that's what I believe. They'll let me know what I believe in on this issue when they figure it out.
It's like I don't look at you and be like, all right, you represent the thoughts of all little people. You know, it's just
you should, because I am king.
You are the king. I want to see. Unless you're wearing a crown.
Yeah, I was elected king of the dwarves. It was a runoff election between me and Dinklage. He didn't show up, so I got the crown.
Can I just tell one quick little person story, because I think this illustrates the brilliance.
Don't ask us, ask Brad.
Can I tell one?
Does this involve 10 laughing frat guys?
That's actually a different little person story that I don't say publicly anymore.
Fire away.
I had a very good friend growing up who was a little person, and he actually was a great basketball player. He was a really good basketball player. Used to play with him at the park all the time.
Until high school, when everyone else grew.
Or until other people got on the court.
But trampoline basketball?
No, he really was good. The guy was good, for real. But the funny part of he wore a David Robinson jersey, and I always thought that was the funniest thing because he wore a 7-foot black man jersey.
Couldn't go with Muggsy Bogues.
Couldn't go Muggsy. Couldn't go
John Stockton. Spud Webb.
None of that. No, I had the same thing. It was a couple of years. We were a couple years ago. We were watching the basketball playoffs, and I had another dwarf buddy in the room, and he was telling me what LeBron needed to do to beat the Warriors, and I just flat out looked at him like, you can't. You cannot tell a 6'9" athletic Adonis of a black man how to play basketball. Right. You, as a 4'2" white guy, cannot do that.
Well, Muggsy Bogues had the thing because he was 5'3", I think.
Yeah, 5'3".
And he had the ability. What's that? 5'3", right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
And he had the ability to dribble low, and the only way to fucking stop him was to foul him. He was a great ball handler. So not being tall, being that much shorter than anybody in the NBA could be an advantage.
There are advantages to it, but it is more difficult to reach the hoop, which at the end of the day...
I would say block shots are going to be 100%.
Right. The ones closer to the hoop generally have a better chance.
I love it when I watch ESPN and like the Warriors are playing. They go, Steph Curry, it's amazing what he does, only being 6'2". I'm like, I will stab you in the fucking neck.
Is he 6'2"?
Whatever he is, I don't know what he is. He's probably like 6'2". They're like he made it despite his height. I'm like, do you realize what I would do behind a dumpster to Rubin to be 6'2"? Okay,
I don't know what kind of powers you think I have, but
hey, Shitlove, you're saying that we have to break. Can we just go to the end and then break and then just do the reads? Or we have to. How many reads do we have left?
No, we don't have any reads left. I was just told that we have to take 3 breaks.
All right, so we don't have to break now. We'll break. Dave can't stay for the whole show, so we'll break
you
in
can't.
a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got a thing.
Okay,
all right, but we'll break
things to do.
We'll break in a little bit.
Where do you tape your podcast?
I got a home studio. Best thing I ever did.
Are you on the East Coast or West Coast?
Aren't they amazing?
I flew in from Ithaca this morning. I was at 5 a.m. standing on a tarmac in the snow to get to you guys.
I love that.
At this hour.
Well
from
done.
Ithaca.
What were you doing in Ithaca?
I spoke at Ithaca College last night, little free speech thing. Actually, everyone
they didn't protest you?
Wait a minute, you went to college for a free speech thing?
There were riots in the streets?
Well, it's so cold there that even the protesters were like, fuck this.
Go home, and then they leave.
They threw a firebomb and it froze.
No, they set fires. They just stand it around. No one's angry.
That's funny. Yeah, it was actually great, but like you could see how these schools have just been crushed by this social justice nonsense. Like even I literally went to the bathroom, and as I'm peeing, there's a sign in front of me about environmental justice.
Oh, good.
Everything, they view everything through this twisted lens, and it's depressing unless you can break through it.
But a lot of them, when you talk to them, like I was doing a set the other night, and I was talking about Harvey Weinstein and gender roles and all that stuff, and so this woman was being a little shitty in the audience. And she's like, so you think those gender roles are right? Like, I'm like, it's not even remotely what I said. And I just walked her through it about how it was not what I said. But it's amazing how people hear what they want to hear. Like, that's not even close to what I was saying.
But you can get them. I mean, I think that's why people are watching my show, because although I'm being a little more forceful with you guys because it's fun, it's like when I'm on my show, it's a little more measured, and I do try to get people to actually try to. Why do you keep thinking these things?
Although, then you're like, but it is measured, except the ones that get all the buzz are the ones where you actually have people just trying to tear each other's throats out.
Yeah, of course. But, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Do you do any jokes when you speak? I know you did do stand-up.
So 2 weeks ago, I did my first stand-up club gig in about 5 years.
Oh, you're doing gigs again?
Yeah, so I was at the Comedy Store on Saturday night. I crushed. I mean, I'm not just saying it. Like, they literally applauded to keep me on stage. I was like, I gotta go. Like, I walked on stage. I was like, listen, it's my first club gig in 5 years. This is either my last show or my comeback show.
And I just at the Comedy Store in L.A.
At the Comedy Store in
Did
LA.
you follow Jeremy Piven?
Is he doing stand-up?
Yes.
Is he really?
Yes.
Is he good or no?
Not that good.
Well, wait, when you did this, was this a Dave Rubin audience, or did you just kind of go on?
Yeah, I tweeted out that I was going before, so I'd say it was probably like half for me, which I was shocked. Sure. Just like I tweeted out like an hour before, but I just spoke to all my agents, and they're going to start booking some stuff.
Yeah, it's a fun. There's nothing worse too than when the middle is killing when you're headlining, and they're like, "I gotta go," and the crowd goes, "Oh!"
You're like, "You bought tickets for me."
But no, it's just the point is like, "Oh fuck!" Now they're going to think that I'm rushing them off, and they're going to pick it out on me.
Yeah. Right.
Fuckers.
You know what though? It was nice because it's like I did it for 12 years here, so the tools of stand-up I have. Right. But if you're not just consistently on stage, the tools, it's just harder to like get them already. But like now I know what I'm saying. So a good comic, you got to have two things. You got to say something real, hopefully, and true, and then you got to figure out how to be funny. It's like I'm saying something real now that's relevant, and now I just got to get my tools sharpened. And I don't think it's going to take that long, and I want to do like an hour special.
And I don't mind being wrong either. Like I just try to be honest and funny. Hopefully, like there's a lot of the temptation. We want to sound smart and right, but I'm wrong half the time, like everybody else. Who gives a fuck?
And you don't mind that most of the time you're not funny, right?
No, not at all. I've actually come to accept that as a platform to really give a good message.
But you know, it's like watching after not being in a club for a long time. I mean, it was the first time I'd even been in the Comedy Store, and it's like after not watching stand-up for a while, man, there's a lot of shitty comedy out there.
There sure is. Yeah,
like these guys, they get up there and all they can talk about is jerking off and Trump jokes, and I'm like, man, you guys couldn't get within the fucking moon of truth because they need it so bad. I think that's the thing that I forgot about. You know, that that need for every laugh, and it's like you got to get past that somehow.
And the Trump jokes are not like, it's not anything other than like, again, it's like a lot of them are clickbait, pointless jokes. Like, I'm supposed to hate him, so I hate him. There's nothing fair about it. I
did some pro-Trump jokes, and the audience liked it, actually. So it's like, you just got to try to hit things from a different perspective, because the same old thing, I mean, it's like, turn on The Daily Show. Not that anyone watches it anymore. Thing's a freaking nightmare. Watch that Samantha Bee show. It's like, I'd rather be clubbed in the head. For
you were there for, you were an intern for Jon Stewart, right?
Yeah, way back in 99,
right?
Yeah.
How long were you there?
It was like 8 months. I actually forged my letter claiming that I was in college to get the internship. I was already out of college.
Very funny.
Yeah, I found some letterhead from Binghamton.
Was that when Lewis Black was on too, or no?
Yeah. And I mean, first off, John had just taken over for Kilborn. So John was not a star. If anything, he was just some MTV guy that nobody knew who he was. Lewis Black also, you know, he was doing stand-up, but he got success really late in life. So it was an interesting time to be there, because there was a lot of flip in terms of writers and everything, because John wasn't going to keep the Kilborn writers, obviously.
That's right.
You literally could not have two guys that are more different in terms of a showboater. And
was Kilborn funny as a show? I remember him. I didn't like him when he was on, but again, I was younger then. I don't remember much about Craig Kilborn.
I loved him when he was on SportsCenter. That's when I was in college, so around 95, 96, and I thought that guy just totally revolutionized SportsCenter, and that's what I wanted to do, was be a SportsCenter anchor. The Daily Show, I don't think, was really his gig, and obviously John was great, although I think there's a lot of reasons that he wasn't great politically, I think.
But at least
am I allowed to say that? I know if you say that, people freak.
He was funny though, but he's a funny.
But he did a good show, and that's
kind of a great show.
That's kind of what's lost, I think, now, is the people's bias is stopping them from just doing a good show. Like, as a person who respects content, you can put your bias aside to say, Jon Stewart, it's a good show.
Yeah,
like, I don't agree with anything. The show is a good show. Whereas The Daily Show now is it's not a good show.
I don't watch it. I like Trevor so much too. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, just watch any promo. I mean, it's like him doing the Trump impression, and you're like, all right, we get it. You don't like Trump. Like, this isn't comedy anymore. You know what I mean?
No, it's sort of like you beat the dead horse. It's dead, and you're still going at it. Yeah, you're just like, but we can still say he sucks.
Every single late night host has the exact same take on politics.
Think about this. Take all the late night hosts. So who do you got? You got Kimmel, you got Colbert, Fallon, who else?
Who's on
Seth Meyers.
What's the guy who sings?
James Corden.
James Corden.
Okay, and the one that we didn't mention so far, Bill Maher, if you want to kind of include him in that. Who's the most right or center out of all of those people?
Bill Maher.
It's Bill Maher.
Bill Maher, absolutely.
Think how insane that is. Bill Maher has been the standard bearer for the left, especially for comedy, for 25, 30 years at this point. He's now the only one that is remotely center. And if you said to Bill Maher's face, you know, you're center, he'd punch you.
Right.
Well, Bill Maher's not a guy who goes after you for language, though. He's never been a guy who tried to get people in trouble. He's not a baby.
No,
I love Bill Maher.
I love Bill Maher too. That's my point. But it's so ironic that he now is the center guy.
Yeah.
Where you go for
these guys. Yeah, you go there for your logic.
Well, yeah, and you go there for free speech. I mean, he's doing what a comic is supposed to do. He had Milo on in the midst of all that craziness.
That's right.
And he said, "I'll let you talk." I mean,
what did he say? Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yep.
If you don't like a guy and you think he needs to be disinfected and you want to shine light on him, that's like I liked his take on that. Like, I don't like what he's saying,
and
but
it did end up
decide.
in the moment. I feel like it did end up being really bad for Milo's career, because it
was over 3 days later.
That's what shined the spotlight on him and allowed the right amount of people to be outraged by it, and exactly right. Like, it just destroyed him, and he's had to be rebuilding ever since.
Well, that's what every comic does to a heckler. That's like a common strategy is, I'll let you talk.
Yeah.
And then you'll bury yourself.
Right.
I mean,
great.
Yeah, that's how I interview. It's like, I don't need to bring someone to my studio in my home to yell at them. It's like, you talk, and then guess what? If you don't know what you're saying, you will hang yourself, and you'll do it every time.
Yeah.
And we've gotten so used to just watching CNN, and 2 people in boxes are actually on CNN. It's 8 people in boxes, and then 3 other boxes related to Trump's Diet Coke habit and everything else. And it's like, get past all that shit. Let some people speak. And that's why the Peterson stuff that I've done, I think those are my best interviews probably, because this guy has, it's not a wealth of knowledge that this guy has. This guy has like the deepest sort of reservoir of research and knowledge of anyone that I know of. And he's saying something real, and that's why people hate him.
I don't know much about him. And somebody is saying,
Really
I'm going to go to the
interesting
phone. Somebody is saying, Justin in New Jersey is going to talk about Jordan Peterson. Hi, Justin.
Hey guys, how you doing? Love the show.
Thanks, pal.
Sammy Brand Muffins, of course.
That's
Crab
right.
Dog. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are finally talking about this Peterson thing. He's been really popular very, very recently.
Yeah.
Glad that you guys have Dave on. He's getting some heat this morning from Twitter. Some guys taking the Vice interview that went out about him and trying to twist it so that he looks all misogynist, when he was just pointing out that, you know, a lot of women in the workplace will do things to provoke men and that it never gets talked about. And look, we all know you're not supposed to touch women. We all know that. It's only the most disgusting guys that are doing that. And they're just trying to make him look bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is
Thanks, Justin.
Vice put up this thing that they selectively edit, of course, what he says, and the interviewer clearly has no understanding of Peterson. And Peterson basically is just saying, you know, women wear lipstick. They wear rouge. When they go to work, they might put on a dress and show some leg. Look, I mean, turn on CNN. Why is every woman off the cut shoulder? Wolf Blitzer doesn't walk in there showing his shoulders. There's a reason that they do this. And he's just saying there is something sexual happening basically at all times, and that means it's happening at the workplace. He's not saying that means you're allowed to rape women or touch women, or that men can't be in rooms with women. He's just acknowledging the flat out simple truth that we all know.
Like, let's have
people, they can't deal with.
Yeah, why aren't they pigs on CNN? How come they don't have a lot of fucking 300-pound women in house coats?
Exactly.
But then again, the men dress nice. I can see dressing nicely, but the appearance does matter, and there is a sexuality to it.
But it's just about having the conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's just about presenting this thing like this isn't really being addressed. We could talk about this. What do you think this is?
But instead, they frame it now. Now he hates trans people and he hates women. You know, CNN had one woman who actually was a little older and a little overweight.
Monica Crowley?
Not Monica Crowley. Candy Crowley.
Oh, that's right. That's what I meant. Candy Crowley.
Candy Crowley. I thought she was excellent. She was probably the one good reporter on CNN. I don't know what happened to her, so I'm not saying they got rid of her or she left. But it's like now you have all carbon copy 28 to 35-year-old girls that all look exactly like the Fox women girl, and they're all fake tan and hot. And it's like, well, you're proving Jordan's point.
Right. Yeah.
Get some 300-pound women on there with some real political
on the
insight,
news,
and let's see what happens.
When's the last giant, big, fatso news person you saw? None of them. Not one big fat lady does the news.
Well, hey, we're making
But you
TV
can mention
here.
there's plenty of fat guys that are doing it. So
Yeah, the
that
weathermen.
proves his point. No, but even on, Lou Dobbs is fat. And,
Oh, yeah, Lou
I
Dobbs.
mean, Wolf Blitzer's not skinny.
Well, he's kind of, but he's grandfathered in from standing in Baghdad when the bombs were falling. He's been grandfathered in.
Yeah, he can do anything at this point. But that's the point. All Peterson is doing is addressing the things we all know. There is something different about the sexes. That's just true. And
but because everything is so cut and dry, everything is so black and white, one side or the other, if you even offer any kind of opinion that is not the standard and is not the flag bearing of victimhood, then it's like, well now you're an asshole.
But that's why people come to us. So let them keep screaming. I mean, I'm a firm believer. In which was the Batman with Joker, Heath Ledger, Joker,
Dark Knight, right? Dark Knight.
That was Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
He's talking about how quickly all of these people will just drop their pretenses once things go to shit, and that's sort of where we're at right now. And he says something like, "You just have to give them a little push."
Right.
And to me, that's where we're at with these guys. We don't have to scream. We don't have to scream. We don't have to even mock them or anything. It's like, I mean, I will mock them, but like, all we have to do is kind of give them a little push. I mean, just look on Twitter the last couple of days, the amount of people literally calling for violence. Bette Midler tweeted something about, because of the government shutdown, that she wishes where's Rand Paul's neighbor when you need him, because Rand Paul's going to beat the crap out of him. Now, I get it, it's a joke, but it's like, what? Shut up. So I invited her on the show, got a couple thousand retweets. I'm sure she's not going to respond, but it's like, how about you come on and explain some of this stuff? All these hysterical comics that we talked about last time.
Explain the violence.
You guys are welcome to come sit down, but no. You want to do it from Twitter.
Yeah.
And, we hate borders and we hate walls, and you all live in castles in LA with security guards.
Yeah.
They're all
gated
Fucking
communities.
liars.
When Bet comes on, you ought to go, why don't you stop weighing in and sing Win Beneath Wings? I fell apart. No, I don't. I'm bailing out.
Okay.
I tried to say Win Beneath My Wings, and I fucking fell apart.
Don't worry about
and
it.
I put the brakes on.
That's,
Don't worry about
that's
it.
honest in comedy right there.
Oh,
That's
it
nice.
was falling up. There's no way to fucking whore my way through that and sound like I did it well, so I had to fucking stop.
Do you ever find yourself in a conversation that you're doing on your show, specifically in, I guess, the ones you're moderating? 'Cause you have a lot of smart people on your show, and you'll moderate these conversations between two very smart people.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself like, oh no, they've gone over my head?
Oh, yeah,
Oh no,
for
I'm
sure.
completely lost. I don't. I'm way out of my league here.
This past Monday, I had Eric Weinstein and Brett
Yes.
Weinstein. Eric is thought of in certain circles as literally the smartest man on earth. I mean, this guy, he's a world famous mathematician. He's also the head of Thiel Capital. This guy is
What's Thiel Capital?
It's Peter Thiel's like VC
Oh, Peter,
venture
yeah.
fund. The guy is off the charts.
Can we see him, Troy?
Brilliant. He's got quite a head of hair. And then his brother Brett Weinstein, who you guys probably know, he was the biology professor at Evergreen State, who said that we're not going to segregate campuses by color, and then they called him racist for it. And he's a pretty world-renowned. No, that's Peter Weinstein.
Yeah,
We're looking for Eric Weinstein. Same spelling. There's a lot of Weinsteins out there, and not Harvey. Also, to be clear, there he is. But these guys are at the top of their fields, mathematics and biology. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a biologist, and we're going back and forth, and it's like, yes, they drop things that I don't fully understand, and I pick my moments when I'm like, all right, now you got to slow down and we got to reverse some of this. But sometimes in the course of a conversation, you simply can't do it. And what I find, because people want to be smart, is that my audience then will clip out something and then they'll repost it. And then they'll say to people, this will give it a little context, and they'll link to articles. So I just am a firm believer in that people are not morons.
Just put the information out there.
Yeah. But you know, when you're in, someone comes in here and it could be a comic that's just babbling on 1,000,000 miles a minute. You can't stop them every 2 seconds.
No.
So you got to kind of let it be.
We get it. You're a midget. Stop going along with that damn hook. Okay.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like one's going to get by you every now and again. And I've become good friends with both of them, and I go out with them, and I'm like, guys, I still don't know what you're talking about after 5 drinks.
Are they both mathematicians?
What's that?
Are they both mathematicians?
No, so Eric's a mathematician and Brett's a biologist. So they're going really high level, and also they're brothers, so they have their own sort of cadence when they're speaking to each other.
Have you ever had someone come in with a differing opinion than you, where by the end of the interview you're like, I think I changed my mind? Or at least like got a little more tolerant.
Well, I would say
to that side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty tolerant in general, so I don't know that it was tolerance per se, but I would say 2 years ago when I was kind of waking up to all this stuff, I would bring in a lot of libertarians and people that were a little more right than me, and the more that I would listen to them as a liberal, I'd be like, yeah, this actually makes sense. Like, you don't want to tell anyone how to live. You want us to be treated as individuals. So that is what shifted me, I'd say, center or libertarian or right, or also known as alt-right neo-Nazi.
Alt-right neo-Nazi.
But I've truly never heard anyone, and I've had plenty of lefties on my show, I've never heard anyone on the left say anything that sounded to me to be right. It all sounds good, but it never seems to be based in reality or...
Well, I mean, communism sounds good.
Yeah, but that's the
Damn right it does, Sam. Remember you said that.
But it doesn't.
'Cause Letterman and Sammy, they're all hearing that.
But it doesn't make any sense. It's not realistic.
I mean, there's literally millions and millions of people who have died in the name of communism.
Yeah. It could never
Go
work.
to Venezuela, tell me how socialism's doing.
Right.
There was that there was that movie Trumbo with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm watching that movie, and Cranston's great in it. It's a great movie, great story. But it was near the end of the movie where I go, holy shit, these guys are making me feel sympathy for communism, and like, well, they were excluded from the Hollywood community. And then I'm like, what happens when a guy says one thing that's labeled conservative? Now he's out.
Exactly.
So unless you're James Woods and you have a giant dick, or you're John Voight and you won't join the union. There are guys who can get past it.
I'll tell you, I freaking love James Woods now. He is fearless. I bumped into him on the street like maybe 6 months ago. He doesn't know who I am, and I tapped him. I was like, James, man, you're just killing it. Please come on my show sometime. And basically he was like, look, I can do everything I want via Twitter. If I go on your show, he's like, I'm sure you're a great guy, but if I go on your show, they're just going to, edit it in a way that's going to make me look like a crazy person. He's like, I got Twitter. That's all I need. But I think even for the stuff that I think he's a little overboard on some immigration stuff and a couple other things, it's like, he just is fearless. He lives amongst them and he's mocking them. I mean, it's pretty beautiful, actually.
All right.
There you go.
There are certain guys that but you said about being a conservative, Holly. Yeah, there are guys who get it. But again, like I heard, like guys like Voight and Ham, they're kind of so good and they've been around for so long that there's enough people who are like, I don't give a fuck. I want him in this project. Although James Woods hasn't done a lot.
Yeah,
lately.
I mean, are they still
recently
doing stuff?
John
though?
Voight, yes.
Yeah, John
Of course,
Voight,
yeah.
but he's like the one because
And he's Angelina's father.
Other than John Voight, I mean, James Woods isn't doing anything.
No.
You got Sabato Jr. was at the RNC. He's not doing anything.
Scott
Baio. He's
Yeah, you got to really
Scott
use
Baio's got his
air
own.
quotes on actor on those guys. But you know who is though is Tim Allen, and look what happened to him. I mean,
He had to get his show.
his show got canceled. It was a top 20 sitcom that never gets canceled, and I actually watched it a couple times. And look, those sitcoms, they're old and tired,
Sure.
or whatever. But what was cool about it, and first off, I really liked Tim as a comic, and I think you know he's the only guy ever. This is incredible. He's the only guy ever to have the #1 book, #1 movie, and #1 sitcom in America at the same time. His book, Don't Stand Next to a Naked Man, the Santa Claus was the movie, and obviously Home Improvement, the same week. I mean, this guy's the real deal.
Guy's got to be pulling in close to $1 million a year.
It's got to be
that high, you think?
Yeah, but you know that sitcom, Last Man Standing, I watched it a couple times. It wasn't great, but what was cool about it was that every joke was the reverse of what Hollywood gives you. So the jokes were all making fun of his son, who was this lefty environmentalist, you know. And
It's almost like All in the Family, the same type of thing. But then both of them got attacked.
and by the way, All in the Family could never even be on television now. But
Crazy.
Even then, they put a warning out.
Yeah.
Even in the 70s, they had done 2 pilots before the 3rd one finally got it. But they put out, this is not the opinions of the network. And even back then, they were a little nervous.
I mean, you could look at a show it's a little before, I think, before all of our time, but Maude, which was right before that. I mean, you know, B. Arthur's character in that Maude, she was a true liberal. That was true liberalism, not this hysteria, leftist craziness, and that's what we need now.
You should play the song when we're talking about Maude. I mean, it really is the best song.
You like the theme song for Maude?
There's nothing better.
Yeah.
And by the way, it will get stuck in your head. There's nothing that gets stuck in your head more.
Yeah, you're all screwed after this one.
I have
Than
no
the
More
Maude
than Cars for
theme song.
Kids?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
God, that one. Ugh.
Every now and then, I never have even watched any episode of Maude, but every now and then there's Maude.
Yeah. And then there's Maude.
Just creeps into my head, and I'm like,
Had
God
the
damn
Lord
it.
beside her. Yeah, it's
God damn you, B. Arthur.
it's a great song.
Lady Godiva was a freedom rider. She didn't care if the whole world could.
Beatrice Arthur.
Joan of Arc with the Lord to guide
But listen to
her.
what they're saying.
She was
Right.
You know,
who really could.
Yeah. Oh, Agent Barbeau's tits.
Were they in them too?
Phenomenal.
Angel Black, she showed up.
Conrad Bain.
Conrad
And
Bain,
Esther
Different
Roll
Strokes.
from
Esther
fucking
Roll.
Different Strokes. I didn't realize they both came from this.
Yeah.
Got it all sold up.
Oh, then there's Maude.
And she's from All in the Family.
Yeah.
Boy, they really know how to do a fucking... Norman Lear could do a spinoff.
He could do it.
That motherfucker knew how to do a spinoff.
You like Maude hot dog?
I have no idea what this is.
First time
Yeah.
you said
But
anything.
even if you listen to just the words that they're saying, they're showing how women had to fight for equality.
Yeah,
That was
right.
the point. Fight for equality, not for supremacy or not for shaming everyone else. Fight for equality. That's what she did, and that's what we just don't have these days.
And equality is about the opportunity
yeah.
to get as much as everybody else. Not getting as much as everybody else. You're not supposed to equal out the wages. You're supposed to equal out the opportunity to get the wages.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Jim, you probably have the most money in this room.
What?
You're a successful guy. You probably have the most money.
I'm also... How old are you?
41.
I'm 40. I'm 8 years older, so by age, I might... I don't know.
You also have no idea how much my pot of gold is worth.
That is a good point. I don't know how much Sam makes.
I wanted to do my U.S. I wanted to do U.S. dollars there because I didn't want to bring up a pot of gold.
That's like a cryptocurrency.
I'm going to give you a hint,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah.
Rumor has it that they do pay you more than me, so you don't have to worry about that.
I mean, that shows you that there is something to be said for merit.
yeah.
Some things are based on skill.
This does sound like a Me Too. I don't know why aren't the wages equal?
Yeah.
You see my point? See, first, your initial reaction was slightly defensive, like, uh-oh, if people will think that I make money. It's a weird thing. Not that you were fully going down that route, but there's like an element of that. But my point would be that you are a successful comic who has done good work. For when did you start comedy?
1990.
Yeah, for almost, what is that, 30?
27 years.
Yeah. So about 30 years, you deserve all that success. I haven't done it as long. I don't deserve your money. That's the point. We have equal opportunity. We busted our asses in different ways. We all do in our own way. And guess, some of the best guys that I knew failed and some of the worst ones are successes. It's life.
Well, I'll say as a man, though, the reason I have a hard... I never like to...
Hard what?
I never know... how much somebody makes, but I have a hard time accepting anything good as a person. As Jim Norton, like I like negative attention. Like when someone says I do something well, I'm like I just panic. I don't know how to take it.
Yeah,
I don't wear limited Jordans, so people think that the last professional broadcaster is broke. I'll just say that. Okay.
I was thinking of that before.
I want those shoes.
Exactly.
2 different color laces.
Exactly.
I've never wanted to see a house fall on somebody so bad and see those sticking out from underneath it.
I'm wearing these piece of shit Aldo.
Oh, come on, Rubin. Pick up your game. You're getting 2 million hits, goddamn
I have good fucking. I wear these. These are really good fat nursing home shoes. I like to fuck women under 25, and I have to wear these shoes.
Jim's a bit of a shoe head with his New Balances.
Little fat shoes.
You know, it's funny. I only think I'm gay from about 10 p.m. to about 6 a.m. That's my prime.
That's when it counts, by the way.
Yeah, that's when I flip a coin.
That's my main gay. It starts with the coin flip. Next thing you know, you're married to a guy. But I do find straight men's fashion, or just like those shoes, are horrific. Like, you're right. You look like you're an orderly at a mental institution.
They really are awful. I do work in a madhouse. I'm kidding, Dave.
Yeah. But that's the first stereotypical gay thing he said the entire interview.
No, he's right. They're bad shoes.
Do you have a balance problem? It looks like you have a balance problem.
I'll tell you the problem. I have triple E width feet. I have very bad arches. I have bad feet. Yeah. Rockports are comfy.
They look like the shoes that they trick people into buying because, like, you get more exercise when you walk if you have these sneakers.
They're very comfortable, and I have a hard time finding comfortable shoes, but they're awful. And I know they're awful. I'd love to wear Jordan just because they look better. And I only want to travel with 1 pair of shoes because my luggage is small. If you want the facts, I bought small luggage. I hate these shoes appearance-wise.
And that's why I actually believe you're straight, because if you were gay, you would go through the pain of wearing nicer shoes.
I certainly would. And I'm going to redefine your definition during the break. It's one of those things I just don't, they're awful. And dressing has never been my strong suit. Like today I look good, but I mean, normally.
What?
I'm not a good dresser.
This blue leisure suit you're in, really.
I'm not a good dresser. I know I'm not. I wish what I liked is fashionable. But then again, neither are you. How old are you? 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, you dress like shit.
I'm all right.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not knocking him. He's wearing a fucking horrible like Star Wars shirt. That's terrible.
Is that He-Man? What is that?
It's a Star Wars video game.
That's atrocious.
Hot Dog is just getting out of being broke.
Oh.
So he's just trying to figure, because he's broke for so long that, like, I mean, he used to dress way, way worse than this. And he's just now starting to have, like, some money for clothes. So he's just starting to make those, like, little improvements. Like, the shirt still sucks, but the pants are kind of nice. You know what I mean?
That's a strange realization going from those two. Yeah, like going from poor and I can't afford it to now suddenly you can.
Well, how do I, am I supposed to? And,
how do I justify paying $50 for a shirt?
And how much money, how not broke am I? Because you're not rich, right?
Yeah, but you can actually afford it. Just to be clear, you are black, is that right?
Hispanic.
Okay.
Dominican.
Okay, you're Dominican, but you could be black, right?
Yeah.
In which case, and even Dominican, you could probably get a little money out of Jim.
You need some work at home.
You want to wear a dress?
Man,
more than one way to get money out of Jim.
He has had turned on a dime. He's like, oh, money out of Jim.
Yeah. As long as you got a skirt and something to fall out of it, you can get money out of Jim.
Absolutely. Jim is an easy mark. So your show, obviously everyone knows who you are, but it's the Rubin Report. It's youtube.com/Rubin Report.
And this is one that you should really support because, I mean, Dave Rubin, and we talked about it the last time he was in, but it's a great story of a self-made guy. Like you created this thing in your garage, right?
But you guys did it too. You happen to have ended up here, but it's like
you inherited this. Someone, your dad passed down his YouTube show to you. That's what happened.
YouTube wasn't around then.
Yeah,
thanks, Jim.
Jim with the facts.
Hey, what does your husband do?
He actually is my producer. Although we're slowly going to shift him out of that, but he was my producer even here at Sirius.
You're going to fire your husband?
We're trying to.
Is it harder? Are you like Sharon and Ozzy? Is it harder to work like constantly together? Are you arguing?
It's not, because we've just sort of figured out like we do very different things. So it's like he's doing a lot of the nuts and bolts, and I'm babbling on about whatever
nuts and bolts is a nickname for your cock.
I walked right into that one. That was really. See, I'm just getting my comedy tools back.
So no worries. But is it hard though? Like, I mean, obviously you're making enough to support. If both of you are doing that, it's obviously a lucrative enough thing, which is not easy to do on YouTube to make enough to support a house and 2 people.
Well, so all you gotta do is make cupcakes and wear funny outfits. You can make a million a year.
I should be unboxing toys and I'd be a fucking millionaire.
I think about that. I think about that sometimes. If I just took all the shoes that I have and opened the boxes on camera,
Dude.
There's so much I'm just leaving on. I mean, at least paying for the shoes.
Chip should open fucking stuff on camera.
Yeah, but it should all be stuff that came out like years ago.
Yeah.
You put that on Pornhub, you're good to go. I don't know if they put ads on that stuff, but my show is actually fan funded, so it's not just the YouTube
Patreon
is a mess. So I'm on Patreon. So my fans.
What are the different levels of Patreon? Because people have told me I should do that for Chip. I don't know how it works.
Well, it's up to you. So I have some people that give us $2 and you get $2 a month. You get the newsletter. $10. I have like a private chat session that I do with people for $100, where I do like a small Google Hangout with a few people. $500, you get 15 minutes a month, one-on-one. I mean, it depends. But
and $500 is a per
month. Per month.
Are there people that pay that?
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of people.
Wow.
We make about $30,000 a month on there.
On Patreon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
$360 a year. Very nice.
Look at you with the math.
That's right. Well, please, his friend and I.
Just imagine.
Eric.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm good at math, too.
Just imagine what Jim Norton would do for $500 a month.
That's true. Come to my house and I'll fucking jack you off onto a mirror. I'll snort it like coke. So your math.
We charge more for that. Just for the
your math friend. He was a mathematician.
Yeah.
Is that how he makes his living, or that's what got him into what he's doing now?
I mean that's what got him. He ended up being an economist, really, and now works for Teal, which is a pretty great gig. But this guy, I mean, if you watch, I've done a couple interviews with him, but not only is he a math guy, but he gets it. Like in terms of what's happening with the news, all the stuff that we're always all talking about, like how they're manipulating you, why they're manipulating you, that there's actually reasons, because they can't sustain themselves anymore. These companies have become so massive that they actually cannot sustain themselves financially. So they have to do more clickbait. They have to do all this trickery and do headlines that have nothing to do with reality. Every time there's what do? Okay, Peterson comes out. He's on fire, right? He's saying all this stuff. Well, you can't just say something nice about him and the truth, because you're not going to get a lot of clicks. That happens to be what I do and it works, but they just don't operate that way. So what do? You do all these garbage articles, then you know that all his fans are going to click on them and get angry, and then of course you play the victim and all that. But there's just, he really has a great way of understanding that there's so many moving parts in society right now, and just everything's crumbling. The media is crumbling, politics is crumbling, sports world is crumbling, Hollywood's crumbling, and I'm a believer that this means there's fertile ground and some good stuff's going to grow out.
Is he a chess player too?
Oh, I'm sure he is.
I mean, math guy's always good at chess.
Yeah. I mean, he's a wickedly brilliant musician too. I've been to his house. He'll literally pick up anything and just start making music. I mean,
did you see video recently of who is the Microsoft co-founder Paul
Allen?
Allen playing guitar, like to back up what Quincy Jones said. Yeah, he's a fucking great guitar player.
Is that right?
Yeah, I forget what song he was playing. I don't remember. We have to break?
Stairway. Yeah, we do. We have to get Dave out of here, and we have to break. So check out the Rubin Report on YouTube and the Rubin Report on Twitter and everything. And Dave Rubin is he's a hell of a guy, and he does a hell of a show. So
yeah,
can I just say,
check it out.
I love coming in here. This is you guys literally, Sam, you're the only person I texted at all serious today.
I appreciate that.
You know, I guess I could do some of the political shows, but it's like, who cares? This is like cathartic. I came in here and I just did whatever the hell we just did. And
yeah, it's a fun hang.
It reminds me of my old self. That's what it is.
When are you going back to LA?
Yeah. Actually, not for a couple of weeks. I'm on the road now till March 5th. It's my longest ever run.
Oh, are you doing speeches and talks?
Yeah.
Okay. You're actually doing gigs. All right. Well, it's good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah,
we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with Hot Dog will remain. Brad Williams will remain.
Yes, he will.
I'm going down to Red Bank tonight to do the Count Basie Theater and
mascot.
He's going to be in Levity Live.
Yeah, Levity Live in West Nyack, New York.
Brad's a really funny stand-up. So if you're up there, check him out. Thanks again, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.